Hello and welcome to, at last, episode 98 of Sensational She-Geek, live from Yancey Street, where we also have our co-host this week again, Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us, my husband, Adam. And this is going to be a pretty full episode. It's been a few weeks since we've had one, so it's going to be covering a lot of stuff from June in general, starting with, unfortunately, the obituary for John Romita Sr., who passed away on the 12th, I believe, about 2 weeks ago now. Absolutely iconic name in the industry, and we'll talk, obviously, about why that is, and do a long list of the characters that he helped create. The tarot card of the week is Justice. We'll talk history, description, symbolism, meaning, and of course the pop culture fun stuff. If it'll help you stick around for that. The Marvel characters who correspond that we're going to be talking about are Magik and Valkyrie, so that'll be fun. We're not doing a manga of the week because I figured it's Pride Month, so why not do a spotlight on queer manga, highlighting the diversity of characters, topics, and settings of LGBTQ plus based mangas. And there's actually a lot, but there's a lot of, I have a bunch of sources if you really want to know where I got all this from, but there's a lot that crossed over on multiple lists, so those are the ones that I picked out, plus a few that I like. Not really any manga news, but there's a link for Otaku calendar there if you want it in the podcast notes. And then I am covering a lot of comics that I've been catching up on from the end of May and then through this month, June, including Captain Marvel 50, Wonder Woman 800, the Tom King kickoff, Hickman's Ultimate Invasion, the end of Purgatory Must Die, some really fun stuff like that, all the way down to this week's Spirit World number 2, Hellcat number 4, and Victory was another one that I actually was surprisingly liked a lot. And there's a whole bunch more that we'll talk about as well. The new next week is for the 28th. That'll be Wednesday for the regular comics. DC comes out Tuesday. And then a few points of comic book news, including what to expect in September, now that all those solicitations are out. Just going through the notable number ones and one-shots from the big two, Marvel and DC, talking about like I said a few weeks ago, the wedding of Emma Frost and Tony Stark, as well as what we're really excited for, Batman Gargoyle of Gotham by Rafael Grampa. It's going to be there's some TV and movies and stuff that we'll briefly mention before talking news and rumors. Yes, we'll talk a little bit about the Flash movie, because we kind of have to, I guess, at this point. And then anime stuff, and yes, of course, Strange New Worlds now has 2 episodes out of season 2. I made Adam watch the first season over the past month or so he's caught up and we can talk about it. So episode 1, The Broken Circle, and episode 2, Ad Astra per Aspera, and Secret Invasion, which premiered as well in the past week or so. We'll talk about that and how that went. I might have fallen asleep, but we stayed up to watch it because I got off work late. It doesn't matter, but we'll talk about the important parts of the episode, because it was a long episode. I don't think it really needed to be, but again, we'll talk about that when we get there. If you're looking to find either of the hosts, either myself or Adam, on social media, the best way for either of us for that is Instagram, which will be linked in the description below. I'll also have time signatures for the episodes I usually put in there, as well as information at the bottom for, various things that I've done for podcast specials in the past. Jessica Cruz is coming. I swear it'll happen. And so is the Marvels podcast. But anyway, if you want to see any of that, and then the podcast notes are the last thing that you may be interested in if you just want to follow along with the text of the podcast. It's not obviously all in there because I'm not reading off anything right now, but The general idea of the podcast and a lot of the like tarot and stuff is in there written down, so you can check that out. And links, there's a lot of links to things that I get this information from, so hey, you can check that out too. Starting us off this week is the remembrance for the late great, is such a cliche, but it is. He was John Romita Sr. He was born on. I'll do a little Wikipediaing for you here before Adam says anything he has to say about it. Born on January 24th, 1930 in Brooklyn, New York City, where he was also raised. He graduated from Manhattan School of Industrial Art in 1947, and he was working at the New York City company Forbes Lithograph in 1949, earning $30 a week, when comic book inker Lester Zakarin, a friend from high school whom he ran into on a subway train, offered to pay him a pence to pencil a 10-page story for him as an uncredited ghost artist. Thus began his first comics work for Timely Comics, the precursor to Marvel, through which Romita then met editor-in-chief Stan Lee. In 1951, Romita was drafted into the U.S. Army, after which he began drawing horror, war, and romance comics for Atlas Comics, which was previously Timely. And he also drew for his first superhero work, a 1950s revival of Captain America. He began working exclusively for DC Comics from 1958 to 1965, and was the often uncredited artist for many of their romance comics, while continuing to freelance for Atlas at the same time. During these years as a romance artist, Romita further developed his ability to draw beautiful women, which he later became known for as well. Which you can see, Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16 is one that he did, I think with his son, actually, which was the first appearance of Monica Rambeau. You can see a lot of their love of the female form in that issue, particularly. Romita joined Marvel properly at last in 1965, starting with drawing Daredevil comics, in which he was initially penciling over Jack Kirby's dynamic layouts as a means of learning Marvel's storytelling house style. In 1966, when Spider-Man artist and co-creator Steve Ditko left Marvel, Romita was chosen by writer Lee as the new artist for Amazing Spider-Man. Within a year of Romita becoming the Spider-Man artist, The Amazing Spider-Man rose from Marvel's second best-selling title to the company's top seller. He brought a new romance style to the Spider-Man comics that soon became the new house style for the character. In June 1973, Romita was promoted to Marvel's art director and heavily influenced the look of the company's comics throughout the 1970s and 80s. He was then inducted into the Will Eisner Comic Book Hall of Fame in 2002. And to give you an idea of how important of a figure he was in comics throughout his time as a creator, alphabetical list of characters he has a hand in creating: Brother Voodoo, Bullseye, Luke Cage, the Femizons, which is a team, Firestar, Richard Fisk, Vanessa Fisk, Gibbon, Gladiator, aka Melvin Potter, Hammerhead, Jonas Harrow, the Hobgoblin, Kangaroo, Kingpin, Man Mountain Marco, which is a Spider-Man one, Masked Marauder, which I think is also a Spider-Man one, Jack Monroe, Nova, Richard Rider, Punisher, Rattler, Rhino, Randy Robertson, Robbie Robertson, different people, Satana, who I love, Shocker, George Stacy, Tigra, Vulture, of course, Mary Jane Watson, Western Kid, and Wolverine. The one and only, kind of. The one of a few. Any thoughts on John Romita Sr.?
Yeah, that was a great summary you had for him. I think it really kind of hits on all the high notes and kind of nails the importance of him in that era, especially for Spider-Man. But just going through that list, like, so many, like, in my opinion, like, big characters in the Spider-Man mythos, like Captain Stacy, like Shocker, like the Fisk family. It's so awesome. And then also the page that everybody remembers of his Mary Jane is "You Just Hit the Jackpot, Tiger." Like, if you guys can't think of his art, just think of that page. It's literally that is what he's known for. And I love that we have that cover of that he did of their marriage. It's so awesome, and I didn't know, I had no clue, like, as I only know him from Spider-Man, and of course his son doing Spider-Man as well. But I had no clue about the romance angle. That's so fun, and it makes sense why whenever he was on Spider-Man, all the women were so attractive and so good looking, and it just really brought. I feel like it really brought that nice touch the book was needing at that point in time, and kind of carry overs today in the spirit of Spider-Man and the women that surround him and that are in that book.
Definitely.
And I also, I like to think, because of him, you end up getting a lot of people like Sal Buscema. If you look at Buscema's style, it's very reminiscent of Romita's. But I do love the thing, just like you said, that him and his son did Monica's first appearance together. That's really cool. And it's really awesome. That's kind of why me and my dad were also fans of them. That whole idea of, doing comics with your dad, I think is pretty awesome. And then his wife, I feel so bad, but his wife was also an editor, their editor there as well. So it's kind of funny. It was like a whole family affair for them at Marvel. But yeah, he will be missed, and I'm glad that, I saw that, like, everybody, regardless of generation of artists, was talking about his art and how influential it was. So it was cool to see that people still recognized him in his work. Yeah,
everybody from the communities, various storytelling and creative arts communities were all talking about it because he was a big deal. He is a big deal, always will be. Our tarot card of the week is card number 11 of the Major Arcana, Justice. To start off with history about the card, the virtue Justice accompanies two of the other cardinal virtues in the Major Arcana, Temperance and Strength. Only Prudence is missing. However, all four are found in the Chianti, a 15th century Florentine deck, similar to the tarot, but with 97 cards. This has led to speculation whether the card is missing or signified by an existing trump from the Hanged Man to the World. Almost all decks today follow a variation of the Tarot de Marseille sequence, which sees Justice as card number 11. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Victorian Magic Society interested in Western esoteric traditions, believe the tarot trumps signified the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet and corresponding elements, planets, and zodiac signs. Their model switched the positions of strength and justice associated with Leo and Libra, respectively. The strength card shows a woman with a lion, like Leo, the zodiac sign. It was changed from 11 to 8. The figure of justice bears the scales like Libra. It was changed from 8 to 11. The Golden Dawn believed this reversal corrected an occult blind, an intentional mistake used to conceal information from the uninitiated. Yeah, that's whatever. The earliest 20th century Rider-Waite deck preserved this switch. Since most contemporary decks are based upon it, this modified sequence became the standard. Besides this change in order, the Justice card has remained very consistent over time. Both the early 18th century Marseille deck and early 20th century Rider-Waite depict a seated crowned woman facing forward with a sword in her right hand and scales in her left. The Rider-Waite places her between two pillars like the High Priestess. Justice is not blind in the tarot. That motive became popular during the 16th century. This imagery is typical of medieval and Renaissance allegories of justice. Her iconography ultimately derives from representations of the Roman goddess Justia, justice, I guess ancient Roman, herself modeled on the Greek goddess Themis, goddess of custom, law, and right. For the description and symbolism of the Justice card, literal description is the figure of Justice, female usually, sits in front of a loosely hung purple veil signifying compassion, and between two pillars, similar to those framing the High Priestess and the Hierophant, which symbolize balance, law, and structure. She holds a sword in her right hand, showing the logical, well-ordered mindset necessary to dispense fair justice. The sword points upwards, expressing a firm and final decision, and the double-edged blade signifies that our actions always carry consequences. The scales in her left, intuitive, hand show intuition must balance that logic and are a symbol of her impartiality. Justice wears a crown with a small square on it representing well-ordered thoughts, and a red robe with a green mantle. A little white shoe pops out from beneath her clothing as a reminder of the spiritual consequences of your actions. there's a little story. I don't know if this is like a well-known allegorical story or something, but it was posted by this a woman who was writing about the cards, so I imagine it's something either she made up or... Anyway, I thought it was cute. It says, the fool is looking for a new path, a new aspiration and inspiration for his life. Sitting uncertain at a crossroads, he notices a blind wise woman listening to two brothers argue over an inheritance. They have come to her for judgment. One brother has the whole inheritance, the other has nothing. I ask that all of it is to be given to me, the poor brother demands, not only because I have a better right to it, but because I will not be wasteful with it as he is. But the rich brother protests. It is rightfully mine, and that's all that should matter, and not what I do with it. The woman listens, then awards half of the rich brother's inheritance to the poor brother. The fool thinks this only fair, but neither brother is happy. The rich one hates losing his wealth, and the poor one feels he ought to have gotten it all. You were fair, the fool remarks to the woman after the brothers have left. Yes, I was, she answered plainly. With only half the inheritance, the rich one will stop being so wasteful, and the poor one will have as much as he needs. Even though they cannot see it, the decision was good for both. The fool thinks on this and realizes that he has spent his life achieving worldly ambitions and physical goods while leaving his spiritual self to starve. He ought to have given half his time and energy to his spiritual self, but he didn't. It's no wonder that he feels unbalanced. Thanking the woman, he heads out to restore equilibrium and balance his inner scales. The ending's kind of weird, but you get the point, I think. It's kind of a cute story. The meaning and the various meanings and interpretations of the Justice card, according to A.E. Waite in his 1910 book, card number 11, Justice, Equity, Rightness, Probity, Executive, Triumph of the Deserving Side in Law. Doesn't really make sense to me, but he was a weird dude. Reversed, law in all its departments, legal complications, bigotry, bias, excessive severity. There are two sides, basically, that I see you can take when interpreting the meaning of the card. The first one, I guess there's the you were waiting judgment one, which is a lot more literal, but the first side is you are being called to account for your actions and will be judged accordingly. If you have acted in alignment with your higher self and for the greater good of others, you have nothing to worry about. However, if you haven't, you will be called out and made to own up to your actions. If this has you shaking in your boots, know that the Justice card isn't as black and white as you may think. A level of compassion and understanding accompany justice, and although you may have done something you regret, this card suggests that you will be treated fairly and without bias. Be ready to take responsibility for your actions and stand accountable for the ensuing consequences. The second side is the Justice card often appears when you need to make an important choice with the potential for long-term repercussions. Be aware of the impact your decisions will have on your well-being and the well-being of others. Choose consciously by connecting with your inner guidance system, your intuition, and asking for the answer that is most in alignment with your highest good for all. Be ready to stand by your decisions, as you will be held to account for the choices you make. You need to ask yourself, do I stand by my decisions and accept the consequences of my actions? If you cannot, then dig deeper, plunging into the shadows of what is right and wrong, until you find the place where you can stand in integrity and strength. And that leaves us with the fun stuff, the pop culture. Back to Stardust Crusaders from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Their stands are named after tarots, and the Justice stand belongs to Enya, apparently a secondary antagonist. Anything you remember about Enya?
I remember the name.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
And then we have the Marvel Tarot and the Anime Tarot. The Marvel Tarot, in this magical dude's journal, he pulls the cards as Magik and Valkyrie for justice. So we'll read what it is that he says about it. For Magik. This hero of justice is the X-Man Magik. She has been dead for over a decade now, but I am getting mysterious missives from Limbo saying that she may be making a comeback, or is it return? I wouldn't be surprised to find out she is back. She always had a way of turning up when and where she was least expected. I am nearly convinced that she's shown up in my research on ancient Egypt. As a demon sorceress, Ileana Rasputin might seem to be surprisingly shadowy subject for the Justice card, but there is no denying of the power and purity of her soul sword. And I feel like that's a lot more relevant even now, with, I guess, like the Hickman era having added her to the leaders of the warlords or whatever on Krakoa. So he says 1 of 2 times magic. And then the fact that there are 2 subjects making alternating appearances on the Justice card is absolutely a sign that the deck is damaged. Is it also a bad sign that both of these subjects are supposed to be dead? In the case of the Valkyrie, I've had trouble pinpointing exactly when she was ever really alive. There is a great deal of evidence to support the idea that for the greater part of the recent past, she was a spell, or more accurately, an enchantment, that was placed on several women. Samantha Parrington, Barbara Norris, and I think that's Shan Bowen. The spell was concocted using the spirit of an Asgardian goddess named Brunhilde. After the spirit of the goddess defeated Set's spawn, the dragon of the moon, she apparently went to the Asgardian afterlife Valhalla. Now the Valkyries of legend travel back and forth from Valhalla to Midgard all the time, conveying the souls of the valiant dead to their rewards. Perhaps the Valkyrie will be crossing Bifrost very soon. Whether as a member of the Defenders or as one of the Lady Liberators, the Valkyrie was always a powerful advocate for justice. 1 of 2 times the Valkyrie. And finally, looking at Natasha Iglesias' Anime Tarot, where she goes through and assigns all of the trump cards and major arcana to various, connects to various anime archetypes and symbolism. For the Vigilante card number, sorry, I just messed that one up. For Justice, it's the Vigilante. Brump brump. She says, Justice's analog in anime is the Vigilante. The Vigilante brings criminals to justice by any means necessary. Although the Vigilante breaks the law, they know laws are flawed. Whether they're an anti-hero, a delusional villain, or a well-intentioned extremist, the Vigilante cares so much about righting wrongs and achieving justice that they're sometimes surprised when they've made enemies along the way. The one thing to note, however, is that the Vigilante's idea of justice is personal and subjective. Vigilantes appear in Bleach, Kaname Tosen, Code Geass, Lelouch v. Britannia, Lelouch, sorry, Psychopaths, Shinya Kogami, Eden of the East, Kuroha Diana Shiratori, Monster, Dr. Kenzo, Tenma, Future Diary, Yomotsu Hirokasaka, and Akame ga Kill, Syria Ubiquitous. Really? That's quite a name. In summation, to summarize, one thing to remember about the Justice card is that it is not about punishment, good, bad, right, or wrong. It is about adjustment. The sword suggests that sometimes this won't be pleasant. Justice pares things down with that sword so that the scales end up equal. Swords represent the mind and suggests that justice only listens to logic, reason, and facts. She will not be tricked by appeals to emotions or passions, nor bribed for that matter. She will be rational and cool-headed. The message is that you must be cool-headed as well, and do what's necessary, no matter how hard, how disagreeable, in order to gain or regain equilibrium. It is not a nice card, but it is a very wise card. At its core, justice is about the search for the truth. As you explore your truth, you will discover that things are not as clear-cut as you had thought. Be prepared to dip into the murky waters and explore what the truth means to you. Be consciously aware of what you believe to be true and what you believe to be fair and ethical. It may not be as clear-cut as you think, so prepare to challenge yourself and to explore new territories of your belief system. Instead of doing a manga of the week, I am doing a Pride Month manga highlight. It's queer manga, highlighting the diversity of characters, topics, and settings of LGBTQ plus based manga. I really should have numbered this one. So there we go. Numbered, I have about 10, well, I have 7, and then a few notes. What appears to be much loved suggestions of queer manga that you can read. Starting with Love Me for What I Am by Kata Koyama. according to Games Radar. A lot of these are from Games Radar. I have a bunch of links, like 6 links down at the bottom of the podcast notes where the section is, where I got all these suggestions for. Most of them are from Games Radar, because they had really good descriptions, but gathered them from all the lists. Anyway, they say, even though this is a very recent release, Love Me For What I Am already shows promise as a new LGBTQ plus manga series. Published by Seven Seas Entertainment and released June 2020, the first volume in this 3-volume series reintroduces a non-binary protagonist, Mogumo. When a student invites Mogumo to work at a maid cafe, they leave with a chance to be able to present themselves how they want. However, when Mogumo is mistaken for a cross-dressing boy, they assert their gender identity, and the rest of the cafe slowly gets to know them better. We also get to know the various queer and genderqueer employees. Together with Mogumo, they gradually confront their issues and grow closer to Mogumo and each other. Number 2, Beauty and the Beast Girl by Neji. The Yuri manga retelling of Beauty and the Beast from Seven Seas Entertainment, the single volume Beauty and the Beast Girl, is a must-read for fans of fairy tales, which is why I included it, because I love retold fairy tales. In this case, our Belle is a blind girl named Lily, while our Beast is a fire-breathing chimera named Heath, who has been shunned for burning down a village. When Lily visits a forest and meets Heath, they help each other realize that they both deserve to be loved. I guess Heath is a girl. Some say that Beauty and the Beast is about learning to appreciate inner beauty, and this manga serves this adage in spades. The manga also explores how those who are shunned experience isolation in different ways, whether it be through being smothered or being confined. With fantasy and romance smartly combined, Beauty and the Beast Girl is a poignant read. Poignant. You know what I mean. This one was on absolutely every list. My Brother's Husband by Gengogoro Tagame. Took me a second. When a single Japanese dad named Yaichi learns of the death of his estranged twin brother Ryoji, he must prepare to welcome his twin brother's Canadian husband, Mike. Yaichi's daughter Hana has no issues with Mike, but Yaichi must confront his own grief and homophobia in order to fulfill a promise he made to Ryoji. It is here that a powerful narrative starts to unfold as Yaichi tries to change himself for the better. A major subject is rarely discussed in LGBTQ plus manga, and it's the Western beliefs about gay people versus Japanese beliefs about gay people. The contrast between them is subtle but striking, and it is interesting to see how that and family dynamics play a role in Yaichi's estrangement of his brother. All in all, the 2-volume My Brother's Husband series is a powerful testament to self-examination, forgiveness, and grief. Next is The Bride Was a Boy by Chi. The single-volume manga The Bride Was a Boy is autobiographical and discusses the mangaka's experiences as a transgender woman. Beginning with Chi's childhood and ending after she gets married, this book provides startling insight on LGBTQ plus issues in Japan through a story of gender identity and romance. With a balance of seriousness and lightheartedness, the cute art style combines with words to tell an entertaining and thoughtful tale. For American readers, and especially transgender ones, Chi's story will be simultaneously familiar and new. The book's title might be controversial to some, but it was deliberately chosen by the mangaka to bridge her past and present. Despite her initial uncertainty and fears in her early years, the narrative is ultimately about her becoming her true self in adulthood and marrying the love of her life. Number 5, Boys Run the Riot by Kato Gaku. From the perspective of a transgender mangaka, Kato Gaku, Boys Run the Riot follows Ryo, a trans teen boy searching for an escape from the terrifying reality of coming out to a world he fears won't understand and the anxiety he feels every day. Not only does he have a crush on his best friend, who has no idea he's transgender, but he's constantly facing his mother's criticism over why her daughter dresses like a boy. That's just it, though. Ryo only feels safe and comfortable when he's wearing his favorite clothing. This revelation, coupled with the arrival of a cisgender male transfer student, provides Ryo with an outlet. The pair begin working together on their own line of men's fashion as he finally finds the strength to come out at school. Ryo faces those who feel betrayed by his secret, along with those who accept him as he is in style. Number 7, Given by Natsuki Chizu. The genre of boys' love has unfortunately developed into something of a reputation for melodramatic plot and unrealistic characters. It's something to get excited about, then, when a series like Given appears. Following a group of teenage boys and the band they form together, this manga's rich characterization and perfectly paced romance will make readers want to grab an instrument and join in. For fans who prefer anime to manga, there's also an adaptation that was equally well received. Either way, this gem of a series isn't to be missed. 7 is Our Teachers Are Dating by Pikachi Oi. Hayama Sensei and Tarano Sensei are two women who work at the same school and just started going out. They're a little shy about their budding relationship, but their co-workers and even their students are rooting for them as they bumble their way through love. 2 others I don't have rundowns at all for, but I like them. The Witch's Marriage and My Cute Little Kitten, as an additional 3 isekai girl love ones you could say, I guess. 1 is I'm in Love with the Villainess. Haven't gone too far into that one. 2, The Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady. Not bad, pretty good. And 3, The Fed Up Office Lady Wants to Serve the Villainess. Peak. Adam, you had to talk about your queer manga choices.
Yes, JoJo.
JoJo. Surprising? No. Continue.
I mean, JoJo is gay as hell. Like, it's severely gay.
Well, the thing that I said when I saw you watching it a lot, or when I watched a few episodes, the women are all very masculine and the men are all very feminine.
Yeah, like the one I posted to my story the other day of Josuke from was it Golden Wind? Him posing like with his little bag over his shoulder and his hand on his hip poking it out, and then they did a homage to that in Chainsaw Man, but it was a woman doing the pose because the JoJo characters like they pose so feminine, it's ridiculous. And then I believe it's part 4. They actually have like an openly gay stand using couple, and they're in Italy, of course.
Of course.
So you can only imagine like an openly gay couple in the world of JoJo in Italy, how flamboyantly gay they were if the quote, air quotes, straight men look like that. And yeah, that's why I really appreciate it, because like that show, and then I'm starting to read the mangas now. It's just very like, it doesn't shy away from like the person who made this created. If they're not gay, they're extremely heteroflexible and they know it. But it's also really funny to me that on my Instagram, my picture is a JoJo character with the rainbow flag behind them, Father Pucci, which he was hilarious. He's a father, but he's gay as hell because like he was like in a relationship with Dio. He was like Dio's little boy toy. So, but what I'm saying is like it's so funny to me that like people have seen my avatar and like been like, Father Pucci wasn't gay, and I'm like, were you watching or reading the same thing I was? Like, there's literally a scene of them laying in bed together, holding hands, reading books.
Just roommates.
At the top of a church. So, like, they're doing gay shit in a church. Like, it's so funny that, like, there's still people who will look at something as gay as JoJo and go, nah, this is all dudes being just straight guys, you know? Yeah, JoJo's my gay recommendation. And then also the parts 7 and 8 are extremely gay. Like, what is it? Part 8, I think, is like literal, like actual, like little twinks in sailor uniforms. Like, it's there.
And this one I can't believe I didn't mention. Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. I think I haven't read more than a couple of the volumes, but oh my god, I've seen the show maybe 4 times through. It's so good. And then I believe, just as an added insight that I know, the mangaka of she created The Great Jahi Will Not Be Defeated, as well as the maid I hired recently was mysterious, flaming lesbian. So support her work and get more gay ass shit in manga. Because, as it said in one of these, the way that they handle things in Japan is very different, and they could kind of loosen that up. But we're not going to do anything about that. What am I even talking about? Support gayness in Japan. I don't know. Somebody's going to sound clip that and It's going to sound real bad out of context. The only manga news I have, Oshinoko's manga circulation doubled after the anime show started. Unsurprising. I do have to say, if you start reading it, don't get attached to the first character you meet. She's not the main character. She's just a main topic of the story. But also I have Otaku Calendar linked in the podcast notes if you want to see what's actually coming out for manga in the future, in the next couple of weeks and whatnot. What's come out recently. We're going to start the comic book segment by going over the things that I finally caught up on, starting with Captain Marvel number 50, which was the final issue of Kelly Thompson run, and was just fine. It was great art. It was great to see the friends and everything, classic, what Kelly Thompson does best. But this whole series, especially towards this ending arc, has been a bit of a downer in the fact that it's just rehashing, and I understand, obviously, the necessity to face one's trauma, especially in characters like Carol, but it gets so tiring. When the entire theme of the series was about her trauma and how she was afraid that she was going to lose it again, or something like that, basically. She doesn't want to become Scarlet Witch, is how it ends, and it's like, it's not really a reason for her to think that. I don't see the correlation anywhere. But anyway, Wonder Woman number 800. I'm really looking forward to talking about the news that we have for Captain Marvel. But anyway, Wonder Woman number 800. I obviously skipped straight to the Tom King kickoff of his series, which will start in September. Wonder Woman number 1 or 801, depending on how they decide to do that. It was great. I really liked it. Daniel Samperi, Tom King. The art was beauteous, absolutely wonderful. Introducing Trinity as a young woman working with the kind of possibly middle-aged John and Damian as Superman and Batman. Obviously post-Future State era, so that means that Yara is either dead or off doing something else, or off-planet, off-screen. And I guess she's sort of been replaced by Trinity/Lizzie. Her name, Elizabeth Marston, is her middle name, which is the guy who is a reference to the dude who created her, of course. Wonder Woman, that is. So she has 3 lassos. They did mention what one of them other ones was called. Obviously, the Lasso of Truth. And there's a black one and a silver one. She mentioned one of them, I can't remember what it was called, but there's some dude in a prison, and she had to fight their way through with John and Damian. Whatever she's doing, they obviously believe in her, so I think it's fine. I think it'll be great. I saw some critiques, mostly just about people thinking that, unsurprisingly, that Trinity is just a copy of Yara because she's headstrong and cocky. You know how many male comic book characters are headstrong and cocky? Don't get me started on that. It's just a stupid thing. It's like calling characters Mary Sue's. They'll find one tiny little thing that they think could fit into that definition, and they'll say, there, that makes her whole character, like, the entire, it's a waste and a write-off and blah, like, dude, please, give us a fucking break. Excuse me, but no, really. As for her fatherhood, there's a dude in a cave. Who the heck is he? We don't know. Not her dad. We know that much. Does she have a dad? Potentially. It says something about a war, I want to say, is what they were talking about. The old dude in the cage. For whatever reason that he's there. Mentioned, I'll tell you all about your mother, your father, blah, 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 your uncles, whatever, your mother's teammates, whatever it was that he said. So, could be a father, or it could just be like, the truth of your father is there is no father. That's what I'm hoping for. But September, Wonder Woman number 1. I am ready for that. Speaking of great things, Ultimate Invasion number 1 was Jonathan Hickman's return to Marvel, and boy was it good. Obviously a little odd because it's like more multiverse stuff, and it's the Maker, and it's bringing up the question that I think people have recently kind of like realized was there and started asking, which was, wait, isn't Miles from another universe? I feel like a lot of people forgot about that for a while, and then recently were like, hang on, what about this? And I was one of them for sure. I recently was like, hang on, wasn't Miles not from this Earth originally? What happened with that? This is what's happening with that, basically, yeah. And it seems to be great. The Maker and Miles and some other dude who is not important to canon, so nobody cares, besides like one comic reader on the internet. He talks to Miles and is like, we are the last gods of a dead planet, or something like that, dead universe. People gave the critique that it's lots of just like dramatic exposition from the Maker. Dude, that's what he does. This is also setting up, it's taking everything, it's gotta refresh you on everything that we are at now, right? The Ultimate Universe is down, the Maker is this incredible genius dude, blah blah blah, everything about the Maker pretty much, and his universe and Miles and their connection and blah blah blah. Like, they had to catch you up on all of that because you're really supposed to be able to jump into this book without having read the others, which, I'll be a little honest, I've only done some reading up on them, but I haven't read the Invasion stuff. I read the Miles stuff not back when, but after the fact, but that's different. Ultimate End or whatever, I never read any of that, so I'm confident when I say that you can go into this one without very much knowledge of the Marvel Universe and figure out what's going on. But basically, to give you a really quick rundown, the Maker escapes prison and makes a copy of the 616 that he can do whatever he wants with. He calls it the 6160. There's a whole thing, it's kind of clever, about how it starts with 616 on the white page. You know Hickman has white pages, okay? And then it says, every great artist steals, and then, like, the last white page is 6160, every good story is stolen, or something like that, and it's like, oh, I get it, he stole the fucking shit, I get it. That's what Hickman does to me. That sounded pervy, I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the first thing that he did, him being the Maker as whatever the name is that he took in that universe now, big scientist dude who's in charge of lots of sciencey things. So of course he stops Peter Parker from getting bit by the spider and becoming Spider-Man. That sets off a lot of changes in that universe, so we'll have to see. I mean, in the traditional, what was it, 1310, whatever the heck universe he was from. So we'll see how other things begin to change. We'll be a little bit less intensive on the rest of this stuff here, but JSA number 4, Justice Society of America over at DC, still really liking this. Huntress, as in Helena Wayne, not Bertinelli. She isn't meant to be in the modern timeline the way that she is, so the villain Negation, I don't know why that's his name, he can't see what she's going to be doing with his powers, which is how he's killing and stopping everybody else. She's able to shoot off his finger wearing the kryptonite ring, and then it cuts to... Remember how I said I wasn't paying attention to the army sequences in the previous issues? This catches it up with that, so now I get it. He's working with his older self, who knows now that the younger self failed because he arrives back in the 1940s during World War II for whatever reason, and his older self doesn't have that finger now, so he knows, obviously, he just went and lost his finger, and so Negation's his DNA is constantly changing as the Justice Society members who survived now are studying in the lab, and they realize that he is performing a sacrificial ritual across the timelines of the Justice Society. If he kills this group, the modern one, he erases them from history entirely, and his spell is complete. There's also something going on with Dr. Midnight and Wildcat, and some kind of curse or sickness that they have. No idea, frankly. Purgatory Must Die ended with issue number 5, and I have mixed feelings because she gives up her ability to absorb the essence and knowledge of her victims in order to call off the gods who are trying to kill her, which is classic female empowerment. You see it everywhere. They do it with Carol in her own series. They do it with Scarlet Witch. They did it with, I'm sure, Monica Rambeau. Hellcat, they kind of are fixing it with now, which is great. But yeah, classic female empowerment. Hopefully they'll give me more of the series, though, because I would still read it. Dark Knights of Steel, number 11 of 12, but we know there's going to be more coming at some point in the future. Basically, it's all parties aligning against the White Martians. Power Girl Special 2023 introduces, sort of, Paige Star is her new name, not Karen Star, now she's Paige Star. Really good issue, although I could have sworn that her Omen was going to be a villain. Was I wrong in thinking that? Poison Ivy number 13 has 3 different artists. The second one is tragic. The third one is really good for something that was made in the 90s, or has that kind of feel, but this series really doesn't, so I don't know why they made that choice. And the next stuff we're going to see from that is going to be Night Terrors, apparently. Daredevil and Echo number 1 was some kind of goblin taking a pound of flesh for whoever the blind one is, and there is a kid who is mute, I believe, or deaf, possibly. I think she's deaf, who is causing destruction across Hell's Kitchen, of course. You've Been Cancelled, number 1. Yes, it is a series about when you're canceled. It's a TV show, and the cameras throughout the world and city or whatever chase you down, and then people try to hunt you down and kill you and publicly, and ta-da, and then of course it ends with the system being hacked, and the number 1 killing agent is assigned for canceling. So, wow, no, plot twist. Loki number 1 by Dan Watters is a good start, I guess. I believe it started with Loki getting killed, if I'm not mistaken, but that's not new. I don't know, we'll see how it kind of goes. I think they're setting him up for a romance with Scarlet Witch, which, generally, I'm kind of surprised hasn't happened already, but we'll see how that goes when we get there. Harley Quinn number 30 had too much writing in it, and, in my opinion, the Nicole Maines Mindy Lee story was so much better than the main issue. Mindy Lee is just phenomenal with all of her fun fantasy designs for DC characters. X-Men Before the Fall, Mutant First Strike is, super dramatic. I'm not looking forward to this event. There's a Mutants Hero Strike team now. They wear red and white. They're, Jean and Scott, like, standard shit, basically. And then a bunch of characters who they didn't elaborate on. Doctor Strange number 3, the artist was very clearly not given enough time. Doctor Strange number 4, based on everything I read here, it looks like they're going to be removing Clea from the situation, or possibly from Stephen's life, or something, by making her a villain, or having her force her to prove herself again, even though she just, kind of saved him, resurrecting him a little bit, but I guess that doesn't count. Maleficent number 2 is still really good. The little kid who she turned into a fox, his brother comes for him, and drama ensues. DC Pride 2023 was excellent. If you try to say that you completely understand the Grant Morrison story, you are lying. I understand the characters, but I do not know what was going on there. And that is standard Grant Morrison, and that's why we love them. Harley and Ivy story was really cute. I don't remember the rest, to be honest. Hairball, there was one with, Midnighter and Sunbeam. What's their names? Midnighter and... Apollo, thank you. I don't know his Sunbeam. Yes, that one was good too. Anyway, Hairball number 3, Evil Cat, I like. Ambassadors number 6 ends with the question, do we need a token American? And also we discovered that the old man who came out was actually not gay at all. I will not be keeping up with Star Signs number 2. It turns out that you have to be really into astrology, and I am not into astrology like that. Avengers number 2, it's a total ripoff from the idea of the jackpot from The Peripheral, if you've seen that on Amazon. The jackpot in The Peripheral is basically like these various events over the course of a few decades that decimate the planet's population, like, more than decimated. It goes, you lose 7 billion people. And so, basically the thing that Kang wanted to warn Carol about at the end of the first issue was that, basically, is going to happen on Earth. And it starts that day with 1,000 people dying in these mass traumas that they're able to stop with his help because he's from the future. They stole that from The Peripheral. Yep. totally. It's still good. It's a good idea. It's a good story, but I see what you did there, guys. Also introduces some new villain and their fabricated helpers, I think is what it said, and something called the Impossible City, which arrives at the end of the issue. So I'm still in it. I think it's Jed MacKay. He's doing all right. Christopher Cantwell, Hellcat number 4, basically has the argument that Patsy and Damon were destined for one another from the start due to her demonic history and possibly tendencies that will be expanded on in future issues, or in the next issue, I guess. Because we all know about back in the Defenders when the whole thing, her mom died and, oh, she could live forever if, this demon, if she sold her soul to this demon, and then she did that for her daughter, and then when she died, the demon came to collect, and yeah, that was the whole thing. But this is kind of riding off of that, and the idea that maybe Patsy was always had something demonic within her, and that's possibly why her mom didn't have an issue making that deal. Titans number 2, just kidding, Wally isn't dead, it's a duplicate body, potentially from the future. The end cliffhanger is that Tempest, the Aqua Lad / Aquaman, I don't know what they call him now. Well, Tempest is what they call him, but whatever, he's that. He is like Aqualad, basically. He joined up with Brother Blood, who now calls himself Brother Eternity, so that's cool, I guess. Spirit World number 2 is still really awesome. It had me thinking about how the magical talismans in traditional Chinese mysticism are potentially, like, the kickoff point, inspiration-wise, for like how magical girls in a lot of shows have like cards, like Cardcaptor Sakura and a bunch that I can't remember right now on the spot, but the cards do various spells and tricks. I feel like that's definitely connected, like those two ideas. The magical girls cards came from talismans, Chinese talisman papers, possibly. Yes, no, maybe. But it's still good. I really like Spirit World. Something Epic number 2 is still really interesting. It's a little bit too much text in this issue for my patience level today when I read it. But it's still really interesting. I'm curious what's going on with this kid who can see this like weird other universe and possibly interact with it. Victory number 1 is a spin-off from Christopher Priest's previous Vampirella work. It's actually been a while since we've seen him writing Vampirella. And even longer since Victory, so it's interesting they have the spin-off now. But I really enjoyed the first issue. It's by David F. Walker of Bitter Root, if you were familiar with that one. And the art really fits the kind of stylization of the story that he's telling. So I'm gonna see how the next few issues go. Lastly, Click Click Boom is an indie comic about a girl who takes Polaroids and shoots up banks. But she can't speak, she's mute. And then she saves this woman from these corporate villains, and I'm sure we'll figure the rest out later. But I really enjoyed it. Now, talking new comics coming out this week, it'll be June 28th, the last week for comics in June. We're going to do this one alphabetically for, reasons. Daredevil and Echo number 2, we have Phil Noto in Tears, which is enough to keep me going on that one. Otherwise, was it Mark Waid? Hang on, let me open the page. Taboo. Wow, I was wrong. Taboo and B. Earl. Hey, that's a compliment, right? I thought. But anyway, then we have Harley Quinn number 31, which is going more into the Teenie Howard Harley Quinn. We have the second story by Heather Campbell and Filia Bratukin, which seems to be about a Carly as a mecha, which will be fun. I've really been enjoying the dream sequence stories that they've been doing at the end, so hopefully they'll keep doing that. Bunch of variant covers, like a whole bunch of variant covers. We've got Sweeney Boo's obviously doing the main cover. Let's see, Nathan Serzi, I believe is this guy's name. He's doing a couple of different ones. He's got, a number of them. This is Claire Rowe. Jenny Frizen, of course, is going to be the one that I'm going to be getting. Clayton Crane has 2 variants, technically a version variant and a regular one. And then Filia Bratukin, the one who's doing that second story. I apologize for not doing the name at all well. Oh, that is a mecha story. That's cool. You can see the cover for that one is going to be based in their mecha story, which looks highly detailed. So that should be pretty cool. Anyway, back to what we were doing. We also have She-Hulk number 14 coming out this week. We got another cool Jen Bartel cover, and we obviously know that she and this scoundrel dude are going to, like, get together. We know this. The Derek Chu variant cover as well as the Jen Bartel cover. Storm number 2. I don't think I am reading this one, to be honest. Thor number 35 by Torunn Grønbekk, who I just support because she took over the Thor series from the guy, you know, the other one. And then Vampirella versus the Superpowers number 2 continues. Vampirella versus Red Sonja, and finally X-Men Before the Fall continues with Heralds of Apocalypse. Now this one might actually be kind of interesting. It's Al Ewing writing, so it's kind of like up and down, honestly, for the quality of that. But then we have all of the cool Arakko characters, you know, like Apocalypse and his wife, Genesis, you know, and Sabanur, Genesis, their children. That's just all creations of Hickman and just fantastic. For some reason, also, there's a Ms. Marvel cover, but it's a good cover, so I'm not going to argue with it. I don't hate it. And by Ms. Marvel, I mean Carol Danvers. I should have... Not Kamala, it was Carol. Comic Book News has a couple of really fun things to talk about before we go over what's new for the big 2 coming September. First off, Kelly Thompson's new gig is announced at DC Comics' Birds of Prey, Breaking Hearts and Faces, September 2023. The lineup caused quite a stir online. We got Black Canary, Big Barda, Orphan, aka Batgirl, Harley Quinn, and Zealot. So, quite an interesting lineup here, but it is worth noting this will be just for the first arc. And we were talking about this one earlier. A lot of people don't like the fact that Harley Quinn is going to be a part of the team because I know you're saying she's better as like a villain or an anti-hero. I don't think villain is really the word that I would want to describe her as because, I mean, I don't even know if I would describe Poison Ivy as a villain. She's the eco-terrorist. It's a little different. There's some wiggle room there. But you were saying that you think she should really fit on this team, right?
Yeah, I saw people saying that what the thing that people were saying is that she's better as like a chaotic bad guy than she is as like the anti-hero, which I can kind of see. But I think that especially her role in this team being the chaotic person who's like, yeah, fuck that, let's kill this guy. Let's go ahead. Let's bash his head in. I think that's fun because you need, not fun, but you need somebody who's going to like, we can't let this keep going on. And then the reason why that, you know, she's there and that works so well is that you have Barda as well. Somebody who's literally seen like true evil and can actually step in and go, no, Harley is right, we should end this person, or no, Harley is wrong, we should not. So I think both of them together will cause a lot of interesting interactions, and then both of them are kind of in the same way of like, if it's something bad and evil, we have to nip it in the butt regardless of what anybody thinks about it.
Yeah, Big Barda is really the sell for me on this one. Obviously, I made the podcast special mostly about her. I'm very curious, one thing, how they're going to handle her personal life, if they're going to even mention it, because that's really genuinely left up in the air at DC. And I think Tom King, when he finished writing Mr. Miracle, even said, like, yeah, it's up to whoever comes in next to kind of interpret how they want to take this. Bitch, how do you answer questions then? When people come to you and say, so is he dead or is he alive? And that's really what I'm getting at here is, oh, and there's the other thing. Yeah, there's the other thing where in Future State, there was something where the Mr. Miracle of Future State, who is the apprentice, whose name I can't think of right this second, he ends up fighting their daughter, who's apparently their only child. They had a son in Tom King's Mr. Miracle. It was not Black Label, it was in canon. That another point of, somebody please take the wheel and tell us how it ended. Because I would like to know, should I start shipping Barda with other dudes or other chicks, or is she still married? Because I gotta know. Zealot is from Wildstorm.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people
the Jim Lee imprint.
Jim Lee imprint. Yeah, a lot of people are really upset about her new costume. I genuinely don't think I can care. I don't think I can make myself care that much about that period. Sorry, not sorry. I think they look fine as long as they have a reason to be wearing, for whatever reason, looks like Japanese-inspired armor as an alien.
So, like Ronin armor.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd in that sense because she's definitely an alien. I saw that on Google for sure. But yeah, somebody can explain that to me too, I guess, when we start the series. Weird thing that does not inspire too much hope in me. I know Kelly Thompson is usually really good. She didn't seem to know based on Twitter interactions. Well, she straight up said that she didn't know there was such a Huntress fandom, that she had no idea when she announced this lineup that so many people would be upset she didn't include Huntress. She said she understood Barbara, and she said the Barbara thing is going to be explained in the initial issues, so whatever, I don't care really that much anyway. You got Black Canary, I feel like that's enough. But it's a little odd that she was that out of touch with actual readers, that she was unaware of the Helena Bertinelli family fandom. I'm sure they call themselves her family. But yes, there are a lot of them, and so that was kind of odd that she was surprised people wanted Helena on the team. Of course they do. She was an OG Birds of Prey, kind of. Rafael Grampa has a story that he is putting out for Black Label in October that is or in September, actually. It's called Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. Now, if you don't know who Rafael Grampa is, he is this incredibly stylized South American artist who was pretty much handpicked by Frank Miller to be his protege, in terms, at least, of art. I don't know about in storytelling, but definitely in terms of art. He was the one that Frank Miller picked to take his place as the artist in his final The Dark Knight
Golden Child.
Yeah, his final Dark Knight entity or whatever it was, story, which was the Golden Child, which was really great, and Grandpa's art was fantastic in that. So his Gargoyle of Gotham is, I'll talk about it more when we get to the new in September stuff, but I mean, you get a highly stylized artist in a very particular kind of themology period where it's like, what was this, supposed to be like the 1940s or something in Gotham? Like, you got me. You really got me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, of course, you go back and, read Golden Child, but, like, you'll see how great Grandpa's art is, but the whole thing is that DC wanted Frank Miller to come back and write another chapter to his Dark Knight universe. And apparently the whole thing, part of it is that he was like, I'm not going to draw it, I'll write it. But the only way I'll come back and do it is if you let me pick this kid and let him do the art. And it was Rafael Grampa.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of lets you know that, like, if Frank Miller's putting that much behind him,
mm-hmm.
and the art definitely speaks for itself. I mean, just look at his Instagram page. It's always something awesome. And he's doing he also did the Berserk comic as well.
Yes, yeah, he was fantastic with, God, everything he does is really fantastic. So I'm excited to see Batman Gargoyle of Gotham.
Yeah.
Black Label, and I'm sure they're going to let him go all out with the detail.
Yeah, I love that it's completely his own thing. He can, like, use a lot of the stuff he's learned from Frank and, like, that inspiration for carving out your own corner and do it.
Meanwhile, back at Marvel, they are apologizing to Hickman for kicking him off of X-Men by slobbering all over his entire body with praise, pretty much. We have two things going on. Obviously, Ultimate Invasion just kicked off. But we also have Gods coming up, which is going to kick off around the Hellfire Gala, which is right around the corner. Gods, G-O-D-S, no idea what that stands for. I'm sure we'll figure it out at some point, or somebody already knows and I'm just stupid. But these two articles I have linked in my podcast notes were posted one day and then the next day, focusing on these two Hickman projects. I just think it's absolutely brilliant that they thought they got rid of him, and now they realize they can't live without him. Anyway, Ultimate Invasion was good, in case you missed that. But finally, for comic book news, sort of finally, Captain Marvel by Alyssa Wong is going to be the new Captain Marvel series. It'll be Alyssa Wong and Jan Bazulda, whose name I'm sure I butchered. Fantastic artist, currently one of the Marvel Stormbreakers, which is an initiative they seem to keep pushing. Alyssa Wong, on the other hand, is currently the writer for Spirit World, which I just went off about for like 10 seconds about how much I like it, which is a lot on this podcast sometimes. So you kind of got me. Obviously, I have a Captain Marvel themed tattoo. I'm obviously going to read probably anything Captain Marvel, regardless of if it's actually that good. But I think this will be really good. Interestingly enough, they asked, so it's a win and it's a loss at the same time. They asked Jen Bartel to redesign her Hellfire Gala outfit for this year into her new costume, which is excellent because it is high and mighty time that she gets her own, that Carol gets a costume that's kind of themed for herself and not for Marvel, which is what it's always been as her Captain Marvel costume. And yes, Kelly Thompson gave her a handful of other variations of costume, which all lasted for about an issue each. Too bad they didn't go for more because it was really, frankly, cool. I really liked a lot of them. So yes, I love the fact she's got this new outfit. I really like it. It's got a jacket design. I actually prefer it without the jacket. Jen Bartel was very open with the fact that the inspiration from it came from the military lady from the animated Atlantis Lost Empire movie. You know, the blonde military lady, which I can totally see, and it makes me laugh. And that's part of why I like it without the jacket better. But once again, Marvel themselves proving that the Hellfire Gala outfits are nothing but just another version of their day-to-day outfits. So, still a little disappointed by the Hellfire Gala outfits. I'm fine with these, the ones that we're getting as super outfits, the regular day-to-day ones, but the Hellfire Gala ones should have originally been more remarkable. So what they say, they've already got the solicit out so far. It says, highest, furthest, fastest. Carol Danvers is one of the powerhouses of Marvel Universe, a woman capable of harnessing the energy of the sun. So if you're coming for Earth, she's the first one you take off the board. And someone's figured out how to do just that. Introducing a new supporting cast and villains, both beloved and dangerously fresh as Wong and Bazaldua's exhilarating new series kicks off. I'll be there. We'll talk about it when we get there. Lastly, it was confirmed the Iron Man Emma Frost wedding, which I talked about, I think, in the last episode. People don't really seem to get it or like it, and I get that. Honestly, I think the people who are thinking that it's all going to be a ruse for the X-Men thing that they're doing at that time, they're probably right, let's be honest. But anyway, new for what's coming in September for the big two, strictly new things and the very notable ones. We have Captain America #1, starting by J. Michael Straczynski and Jesus Saiz. Predator vs. Wolverine will be a 4-issue series starting by Benjamin Percy with a variety of artists. Avengers Incorporated #1, Al Ewing and Leonard Kirk. Daredevil #1 restarts by Saladin Ahmed and Aaron Kuder. Spine-tingling Spider-Man #0 from Marvel Unlimited gets printed out by Saladin Ahmed and Juan Ferreira. Uncanny Spider-Man 1 of 5 by C. Spurrier and Lee Garbett. Then we have X-Men Dark, which is where we're going to be seeing Madeline Pryor, and I will be there. We get the wedding special, X-Men 26 and Invincible Iron Man #10. It's a crossover special because they love to have us buy more books. These are going to be both written by Gary Duggan with art by Stefano Caselli and Juan Friguera. The covers are both by Lucas Wernick, and I believe they are connecting. We also get covers by Alex Ross, Javier Garron, Mark Brooks, Jorge Molina, Megan Hetrick, Cafu, Jorge Perez, which I guess is a throwback. No. George, whatever. Lucas Wernick. I think that's it that they have so far. What it says is, the moment that we swore would never happen, heck, the moment Emma Frost swore would never happen, is here at last. That the Frost-Dark knot is tied in the Invincible Iron Man #10, Emma's mutant family reacts to the surprise news. And then Invincible Iron Man #10 says, you are cordially invited to the wedding of Anthony Edward Stark and Emma Grace Frost. Come join the lucky couple as we exchange vows. Attire is Hellfire formal. Orcus raid to follow. Okay. We'll see how that goes. Then we have Ghost Rider Wolverine, Weapons of Vengeance Omega, number 1. It's a one-shot, of course. Werewolf by Night, number 1, featuring Elsa Bloodstone by Derek Landy and Fran Galen. Spider-Gwen Annual, I put that twice. Spider-Gwen Annual, X-Men Annual, Avengers Annual, Alligator Loki, all one-shots. Strange Academy Moon Knight is a one-shot. Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi 1 of 6 by Jody Hauser. And then over at DC, Batman Catwoman The Gotham War kicks off with Battle Lines and Red Hood, I believe, one-shots. Chip Zdarsky and Matt Rosenberg. Batman and Robin number 1 by Joshua Williamson and Simone DeMeo. Birds of Prey number 1, as we spoke about, by Kelly Thompson and Leonardo Romero. Doris Betch is doing a series of covers across this month's DC issues as well, including Wonder Woman number 1 by Tom King and Daniel Sapere. I will be there for that. Then we have The Flash number 1 by C. Spurrier and Mike Deodato Jr., Power Girl number 1 by Leah Williams, Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville by Joanne Starr and Natasha Bustos, Blue Beetle by Josh Trujillo, and then Green Lantern War Journal by Philip Kennedy Johnson. DC schools just want to have fun. And at last, Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, story, art, and cover by Rafael Grampa, variants by Jim Lee, Frank Miller, David Finch, Paul Pope, and Priscilla Petrates. He got Frank Miller to do a cover for him. Isn't that cool? I'll read you the solicit for this one because I'm excited for it. When you chase your own shadow, it leads you into the abyss. In a Gotham City where every day feels darker and more irredeemable than the last, Batman makes a definitive choice to kill off the Bruce Wayne identity for good and embrace the cowl full time. But though he knows the streets of Gotham, Batman will soon come to find that he hardly knows himself. A serial killer is on the loose, and while the murder victims seem random at first, every clue draws Batman closer to the terrifying truth. That they are all connected, not just to each other, but to him. When an all-new rogues gallery of depraved villains begins to emerge from the depths of the city, Batman will have to contend with the very nature of evil, including that which lurks inside the darkest corners of his own heart, to face what's coming for his city. Batman Gargoyle of Gotham brings Rafael Grampa's twisted vision of both the Dark Knight and the city of Gotham to life in a DC writing debut that will reach its icy black tendrils into the deepest and darkest corners of human nature and leave you gasping for breath and for more. It's also coming with a noir edition, so that'll be fun. And that brings us to the TV and movies, the final segment of the podcast. Since this has been kind of delayed, some of the things that I was going to mention, hey, this is going to start soon, have started. Such as New Worlds and Secret Invasion. Strange New Worlds started the 15th. We have had 2 episodes. Secret Invasion started the 21st. We will talk about both of those momentarily. I also started the English dub of Farming Life in Another World, of which there have been 3 episodes. I really enjoy it. Although we're on episode 3 and the harem is vast. We'll see. Skull Island is an animated show on Netflix. It's very much of the Justice League animated stuff that they've been putting out in the past couple of years. That kind of style. Very good show. I've been really enjoying it. When does it take place? The Skull Island show.
I want to say like 80s or 90s. It definitely takes place after the movie.
Yeah, the Skull Island movie, which is a great movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. They have quite a few throwbacks to the movie, like Easter eggs, you might say, so that's really fun. And just generally quality made, I think. I watched the majority of the Peripheral. I watched the whole thing. Adam watched some of it. I already talked about it a little bit with the jackpot notion and how they're doing that in the Avengers series right now. I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, it's good. It's interesting. It's got some interesting concepts and ideas and whatnot. Although it was very obvious from like the get-go that as soon as she popped up in that second world, it was reality. So it was just the twist of time. And then finally, the From Season 2 finale was today. I watched it already and I loved it. How do you get back to a place that doesn't exist? without them throwing you... How do you even explain that without getting thrown into some kind of cell with padding on the walls? It's a good question, but were the children trying to get her out to save her the whole time? Was that why they were calling for her? Because he just saved her. He didn't break the whole thing, right? Also, the symbol. The symbol, I'm curious where that's leading us, but they're doing a pretty decent job at tying up the loose ends of everything. There's only loose ends right now. They kind of started bringing us in a few directions for some of them, so we'll see if they mess it up like they did with Lost, or if they do okay. Going into news and announcements and rumors, we have 2 rumors we're going to talk about. First is a fun rumor that Jenny, K-pop star, is rumored to have been cast as Luna Snow in an upcoming MCU project. Luna Snow is a member of the Agents of Atlas, which is an all-Asian and Asian American super team that kind of popped up during War of the Worlds first. Well, the modern iteration of them, which is that, pops up in War of the Realms. Ha! Funny how you mix those up. And she is, in the comics, a superhero and K-pop star, so it would be kind of perfect. I would love to see that I would love to see more Asian characters, especially from Agents of Atlas, in MCU stuff, because I feel like that would be a great team to see. The other rumor is that Deadpool 3 has another actor spotted on set. Apparently, this time it is Ben Affleck. What does Ben Affleck have to do with anything? Well, he did that one Daredevil movie. So what we're kind of thinking, I guess, is that they're throwing the kitchen sink at Deadpool 3. Because they're filming during the writer's strike still. And speaking of Deadpool 3, it's been moved up 6 months. Which is not the direction you want to see films being moved when they're being worked on adequately, right? Thoughts on Deadpool 3 and Ben Affleck and all that?
If he's in there, it's probably going to be him as Daredevil, of course, from that horrible movie. And they're probably going to use a bunch of archival footage from the Fox movies and, them green screening into that. It's whatever, it's fine, but yeah, just like you said, it moving up 6 months, and then the fact that they can't make any changes because of the Writers Guild strike, and then Deadpool is a character where he is known for his ad-libbing and riffing. Mm-hmm. I just feel like it's so off, and for them to be like, this is the movie that we want Disney to be able to do, like, R-rated movies, I feel like it might fall flat on its face. And then I kind of feel like now, like, the bar for a lot of superhero movies, especially Deadpool, is kind of the floor. Because I saw this viral tweet that people were like, oh my god, it'd be so cool if Deadpool 3 is just them getting together all the old Marvel movies just for them all to die. And so I'm like, so you want the same plot as the second movie, and you guys are thinking that's good? So yeah, just my expectations for this aren't very high. I didn't very much like the second Deadpool movie. I think the first one was a lot better. I thought the second, they put more jokes into it. It just... They try too hard, it kind of felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a fan of Deadpool. I just don't like the
Hollywood Deadpool it's become.
The Hollywood Deadpool it's become, and the people who are fans of Deadpool now are, like, really, like, annoying and don't really grasp what the character is. It's more meant to, like, he jokes because he feels so bad about himself and the way he looks on the inside, not like, I'm this edgy guy who makes jokes kind of deal. Yeah.
And then on the trend of kind of harping on things, are you ready to talk about the Flash movie?
Yeah, I do gotta say though, The Rock was indeed correct about the entire hierarchy of the DC universe changing.
Yeah.
Because ever since that, the movies have just gotten worse. And
it's gone away. It's gone a certain way.
I mean, he was kind of right about that. Besides the distasteful stuff of the Christopher Reeve, CGI, and then the thing that's wild to me about the Teddy Sears John Wesley Shipp thing.
That was crazy. Neither party.
Neither one of them. And then even Teddy Sears straight up says, I would remember being on set of a big DC movie like that.
What was it? It was an Instagram post, right?
Yeah,
that he just was like, I've been at home with a newborn baby and just been like wiping its diaper, and I see that I'm in this movie. I have no recollection of that. Yeah. That is PR nightmare there, for starters.
And then so that really makes me believe that, like, yeah, they definitely did not get the Christopher Reeve approval or sign-off to use that. And then it doesn't even sound like they really got Nick Cage to actually be there as well. So it's just like, it's just all of that, and then stuff with, of course, Ezra Miller, and
which was never handled the way that it should have been.
No, and then the whole it's probably, I'm gonna get into whatever spoilers are, and then the fact that, like, the big bad was just an evil Barry, that door was literally open for you guys to do Reverse Flash. Like, it was right
or Zoom, even.
Either one, but, like, that door was wide open, and they're like, now we're just gonna get an evil version of Barry Allen and do this?
You want Teddy Sears in the movie? Give him his role that he played in the Flash TV show as Zoom. No?
Yeah, and then the fact that the nostalgia bait of Michael Keaton couldn't even save this movie.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Him doing absolutely nothing with his final... I think he just wanted to end the horror of what the hell is this happening to the world. Like we've said over and over again, 1989 Batman in his rubber suit ain't got shit on Kryptonians in spaceships.
And the thing that's also very comical to me about it is that they even show in the preview and in, like, clips of the movie that he has an armored suit, but he still chooses to wear, like, the silicone one. And then, I'm pretty sure, and then his somebody, the scene of him crashing his Batwing into the Kryptonian ship and killing himself, kamikaze style.
Does nothing.
It does nothing at all. It doesn't even break the shield ship. It doesn't even break through the shield. But somebody made a great edit of, Freebird by Leonard Skinner. Fantastic. It made it funny because his look on his face isn't a guy who's about to, like, say, he's smiling like he is fucking hyped for this. Like, he is so hyped to kill himself. Like, that, I feel like it's a little bit of Michael Keaton showing, I don't want to be in this movie. He just wanted an
out from this universe. Yeah. I guess that repeats itself over and over and over again a whole bunch while they try to fix it. And then Supergirl dies, but is possibly saved after the fact. I'm not sure how that goes.
Michael
but apparently
Keaton
she's not
twice, and that's hilarious.
She's not a relevant character in the whole thing really much at all because Zod just knocks her out. Also, Barry takes out Zod's girlfriend without, like, even trying, which, you know, that clip has been surfaced and all over of Man of Steel of her wiping out soldiers.
Well, it's like Barry, a dude who's never had actual fight training versus an actual Kryptonian fucking soldier who's traveled across light years to do this.
And then...
But whatever. I was gonna...
I was gonna say, Barry, too, I have not seen anything but just absolutely, like, walking the edge of offensive humor about that. Not what people's takes on it, but, like, what it actually is. I don't think there's anything else that I can say that wasn't just, like, wildly out there. But yeah, it didn't look enjoyable.
And then also the whole fact that there's literally a scene of Flash putting a baby in a microwave. I mean...
Yeah, there's... And then they gave the Brave and the Bold to this guy, and the dude's humor clearly does not hit. It does, like, anything in this movie, like, the one clip of whatever the Pepe Le Pew or whatever the thing was, Speedy Gonzalez, yeah, that's what it was, like, that was not funny at all. I had to watch that clip a number of times to even figure out what was happening, because that was horrendously unfunny. So... please stop giving this man movies.
And the most important cameo of all in this movie was actual George Clooney being there. And then also, I just literally thought of this just now, because you said that he's also doing the Brave and the Bold Batman and Robin movie. Would not surprise me if they do something absolutely stupid. It's George Clooney Batman with a Damian Wayne Robin.
I highly doubt George Clooney would go along with that. But money does talk.
I would say you never know, and in this state of weird movies that James Gunn has, like, been making choices for in these behind the scenes, it wouldn't surprise me.
And of course, since, before the movie came out, James Gunn is pushing this as like, this is the great movie. This is the one that I chose to keep on the slate because I believed in it so much, blah, blah, blah. And now that it's out and it's failing miserably, like legitimately failing in the theaters, oh no, that was all them. I had nothing to do with this one.
And he deleted all the tweets that were saying that he personally chose to.
Oh my god, did he really?
Yeah, so
dude, the internet doesn't work that way. People screenshot shit as soon as you post it.
So yeah, so like that's why I'm kind of like really like I don't anything that he says I don't put any value in, because he was literally saying that like, oh yeah, this
is gonna be the step to kick off my universe.
Well, and I'll never forget he said vividly, there was a reason why we didn't take this movie off the release schedule. It's so great and grandiose. And then it comes out and he says, oh yeah, I didn't actually want to release this. It was one of the things that we had to do. So why? So which one is it, man? And then just like the whole thing of him saying, he had no choice over who to cast, but then he's saying, I casted my wife in these projects. But you were just saying you couldn't control who was in the casting. I'm not a Snyder apologist at all. Hey guys, this may be a foreign concept to you, but James Gunn and Zack Snyder can both be bad at the same time.
No, they are. For very similar reasons, if we're being honest. I don't think Snyder has a sense of humor, because I don't think that really goes anywhere into stuff that he makes, really.
No, yeah.
But James Gunn obviously has a bad sense of humor. It's very childish and inappropriate. Which leads me to the last point before we get back to happier things here. The more I think about it, the more boggling it is that this man gives himself everything so unabashedly and so unashamedly that he has assigned himself not just the director, which is a whole other thing, than being the writer of Superman Legacy, the next Superman movie, which is supposed to be the big step in this new, the first official thing, undeniably James Gunn project in the James Gunn DC extended. It's supposed to be that, right? It's supposed to show how phenomenal of a world they're spinning us, right? What the hell kind of reasons does besides him being in charge, does anybody have for thinking James Gunn could write that movie? Look at the shit he's written in the past. Humorous Guardians of the Galaxy, oh, there's some heart in it. What about the heart in this last movie, which was 100% emotional manipulation and, frankly, poorly overdone emotional manipulation? There is zero reason for any of us to have faith that this man could write a movie about the most beloved, heartfelt character in American storytelling, without a doubt. When has he ever done anything remotely of that theme? Never. He can't write Superman. Are you kidding me? Give us a one-shot comic and see if we can even get through that. And then we'll see if you can write the fucking movie. Like, who told this man he could write Superman? The more I think about it, I'm just like, James Gunn, it's supposed to be the thing of a director has to have something relevant on their resume to get a job, right? A writer especially. There's nothing similar to Superman in any of James Gunn's history or work. What the hell makes anybody think he can write this movie, besides the fact that he decided he's gonna do it? It's nuts, but I have pretty much written off the entire future just by the fact that they put Mangold, or whatever the fuck that dude's name was, from The Flash. They put him on The Brave and the Bold. It's it. It's a done deal. It's shit. The two brief points that we have to kind of get out of that negative headspace. Tom Holland wants Miles Morales to be taking over as the new Spider-Man in the MCU, so that's good to hear. Anything about that?
I definitely see where he's coming from, because I do kind of feel like MCU Spider-Man has kind of had a full story in a way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'd just be fun to see him interact with that, and then also just that whole that Miles has never been done before. That's something new and fresh that I think the Spider-Man movies live action are definitely needing. I mean, look at how much it revitalized the Spider-Man movies as a whole, just in the animated stuff, from bringing Miles and all the others in.
Yes, and then on the flip of topics, Harley Quinn's Season 4, the animated series, of course, is coming this summer, so that's exciting. We love the show. The show loves us. Keep them coming. Excited? He's giving a thumbs up. He's yawning. Not because of the show. Because there is a new trailer for Sailor Moon Cosmos that's coming this summer. You can check that out. I have it linked in the podcast notes. And that brings us to our second to last topic, because we're going to talk Strange New Worlds and Secret Invasion. But anime news, which is going to be a lot of lists of stuff that's starting and the dates that they're starting. After the first few things, Kuma 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 Bear, which is one of my favorite animes, is promoting a real-life bear park. You can see a link to that one in the podcast notes. There is a BPO watchdog group that published a complaint about a toxic subset of Oshinoko fandom, which is highly believable, knowing just how Twitter is these days. Again, linked in the podcast notes. Fathom Events is screaming Demon Slayer live reading on July 18th. It's the Kimetsu Festival. It's going to have a stage reading event under the title Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba on stage for one night only in U.S. theaters July 18th with English subtitles. Fathom Events describes the program. Kimetsu Festival is a special stage program celebrating Demon Slayer, the anime. The stage program is a live capture and features cast members who bring the series' world to life as they perform an exclusive live reading of an original story and special live dubbing performance. And then we're going to have a Sanrio cinema roll show starting in October. It's going to be YouTube Shorts. In Cinnamon Roll's origin story, a white dog flew down from the skies one day and was discovered by a female cafe cinnamon worker. The I Cinema Roll brand depicts an alternate world that poses a what-if question. What if Cinema Roll had not met the cafe cinnamon worker on that fateful day? The I in the title stands for both the English first-person pronoun I and the Japanese word I, love, and it represents the brand's theme of taking care of one's own body and mind. That's coming in October. And then Demon Slayer is also making the Hashiri Geiko arc, let's see, what is it called? It's called the Hashira Training arc. It's going to get an anime. And it ended, the current season of Demon Slayer ended this past Sunday, a week ago. Anime News Network reports that Crunchyroll is going to be streaming 15 different Dragon Ball movies, starting with a dump of 7 this past week. And then they'll do another set next week, and then a third set the final week. And you can see that list of movies and the dates in the podcast link. And now for the shows that are premiering in the summer. Just a couple of show titles and dates. The Devil is a Part-Timer, July 13th. Am I Actually the Strongest? July 1st. Yumi Miru Danshi wa Genchi Sushugisha, July 3rd. I tried, okay? Rent a Girlfriend, Season 3, July 7th. Tempuru, No One Can Live on Loneliness, July 8th. Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence, July 12th. Undead Girl Murder Farce, July 5th. And Tonikawa Over the Moon for You, Season 4, July... Well, actually, not Season 4, Season 3. Technically, it's going to be four new episodes, July 12th. It's the Kawaii Girls High School arc, is what they're calling it. Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World, Season 3 is coming in 2024. The Duke of Death and His Handmaid is coming July 9th, Season 2. My Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom, the movie, is coming December 8th. And then the Automata version 1.1a is putting up, its final episodes July 23rd. Now that I've stumbled that out, that leaves us with current TV. We're going to talk Strange New Worlds episodes 1 and 2 and Secret Invasion season 1 episode 1. The first episode of Strange New Worlds season 2 was called The Broken Circle. This was very much an episode to catch people up to what's going on in the season and kind of warm them up to a new season of Star Trek stuff. Reminder of who the characters are, what they do, who does what. The roles, the relationships, everything like that. Kind of bring you up to speed with Strange New Worlds, and that was great. I'm sure there's a lot of critics who are saying that it was a boring episode. I don't know, I guess you could just be dispassionate about whatever you want. That's fine. I choose to be passionate about things like this, and I really enjoy this show, so I will continue to enjoy it until it's not good. The Broken Circle was very much a good episode. We actually had a guest star whose name escapes me, but she is just brilliant in everything I've seen her. And she was obviously in, wow, that one on Netflix, Kimmy the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, that's the one. She was the crazy house, or landlady, I guess? Whatever she was. She's a phenomenal actress, and I was really, really happy to see her in a role as not a crazy old woman. She was a role as an actual Starfleet captain, and to everyone's surprise, of course, willing to go along with their hijinks as it wasn't really hijinks, it was kind of hijinks. They got hijinky a little bit to go and rescue some of their shipmates off on another planet who were doing important things. So, and you also get an introduction to, for the first time necessarily in this show, I believe, to various species, legendary species in Star Trek mythology. So, we'll kind of see how that goes for the rest of the season. But episode 2 took us in a different direction, as I think everybody was kind of hoping after the soft, warm, and very well taken intro. That was episode 1. Episode 2 was Ad Astra per Aspera. I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds fucking cool. But in this episode, this is predictably Pike going to rescue Una. Now, he's obviously not going to steal her out of there. He has to rescue her by legal means of her winning her trial. And yes, it is super fun. My favorite part of that is to sit with you and to make the jokes about how Pike is like this Rico Suave dude, but not in a skeevy way. He's legitimately he makes carbonara for his bang buddy when she comes through town. He's legitimately just a suave dude through and through. But yeah, they're not getting together again because she tried to put Una in prison for life for being an Illyrian. Which, she can say all this about, oh, it's just my job. Your job didn't dictate that you Yes? Yes? You hear him? That's Bath. You good? He talks. Anyway, her job didn't dictate that she changed what they were accusing Una of from a 2-year sentence to a life sentence. That was her own choice. But they did get a lawyer who was Illyrian in there, and we got a lot of the Illyrian backstory, which was really phenomenal. They did a great job explaining all of that. Whoever the actress was who plays her best friend or old friend and lawyer absolutely knocked it out of the park. She did great. She murdered the killer legal bitch through and through. Killer smart legal bitch. I loved it. And of course what she does is she kind of riles them up to the point of them kind of walking into the trap of, yes, this is where I have been leading you this whole time for these legal statements and questions, to the thing in the law that says anybody who is persecuted can go to Starfleet to be safe, basically. And based on what Una had already explained of her time as an Illyrian on her own planet, she was persecuted. She went to Starfleet to escape that. And therefore, legally is there. It was great. I loved it. I'd love to see the legal system do the thing correctly. Thank you, Legally Blonde, for probably ingraining that in all of us. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot else to say about these 2 episodes. I didn't take notes as I was watching them like I normally would for the podcast, because I was just having a lot of fun, to be frank, which is what I like to do with Star Trek, as it's really just been a lot of fun. And Strange New Worlds has just blown my expectations away for future Star Trek projects. Good luck, folks. Finally, Secret Invasion. The first episode was titled Resurrection, obviously alluding to Nick Fury not being dead, I'm sure. I will not lie, I fell asleep because we were watching it at 1 a.m. and it was long. It was 55 minutes, okay? It was a long episode. If I recall, you can fill me in wherever I'm wrong here. Basically, Emilia Clarke, who was it Gia? Gaia. She is, what's his name?
Talos's daughter.
Thank you, Talos's daughter. And she is basically running or heading the sect of Skrulls on Earth who are stealing people, humans, putting them in that machine basically that you see in Captain Marvel, and then stealing their, like, memories to go out in public as humans and, like, everything be normal. And they can totally write it out because they know everything they're supposed to know to be this person. At the same time, right, they also have their own society that's, like, super secret where they can live in their own skin, right? Isn't that what they were?
Yeah, they're living
Why were there the two sides of it? Was they just trying to get into the government or something?
No, there's basically they're living in Chernobyl, because
right.
Skrulls bodies can take the higher radiation output, which I kind of like. That makes sense because it's like, all right, if you want there to be a race of green people in Earth, that would be the place it'd be because like no human can go there.
Yeah.
And what it is they have people who are designated as quote warriors, which are the people who will, just like you were saying, go out and wear the other people's faces. And then you have the other people who are just choose to stay on land. They just want to be. They just want to have.
They just want to live in their own skin.
Exactly. Yeah, they just want to live over in their own skin and farm the lands like they used to back on their own.
On Skrullos. They call this New Skrullos.
Yeah, it's called New Skrullos. And she's the right hand of, I cannot remember the guy's name. He's the name of the Super Skrull from the comics, but that's who he is.
Gnar or whatever.
Yeah, Gnar. Yes. So he's the Super Skrull. Gnar is the one who's leading it. I don't think he is yet. I think he's gonna do something with some sort of like gas or like mysterious thing to give him that power up.
Okay. And then Nick Fury.
Yeah, Nick Fury coming back was really cool. They make it a point that like. He's old. He's not what he used to be. Knurr. Yes, that's it. Knurr. Yes.
I had to look it up in my Marvel's podcast notes.
The whole time that everybody's like, Fury, you're too old for this. You're not what you used to be.
Crazy old man seeing stuff wherever.
Yeah, crazy old man. And Fury's just like, I want to have one last hurrah and stop this and save everyone. And the whole time everybody's like, you're a little bit too old for this. You might not be cut out for this anymore. You're only weighing us down. You're just going to end up getting somebody hurt. You know, the episode goes on, they end up finding out about this dirty bomb that he wants to set off somewhere in the middle of a civilian area. So they go there and meet it, and then guess what? Somebody ends up getting hurt because Fury wasn't quick enough because he's an old man. Basically, what's that guy's name again? The Super Skrull?
Knurr.
He wears Fury's face and shoots Colby Smulders, and she's presumed dead.
Dun.
Yeah, so I think so I think that's kind of meant for Fury to really take a step back and go, I need to, go all in on this. I can't just disappear for almost 10 years and then come back and expect me to be fine.
And everything to be the same level I was at 10 years ago.
Exactly. And there's also a couple of, I think Talos and Smulders, Hill said it to him as well. They both said, you haven't been the same since you got snapped. So it's a little bit of him dealing with the PTSD of, he literally died and came back. I feel like that would mess with anybody. So it's kind of where we're left. I enjoyed it. I think it's going back to like Winter Soldier-esque vibes.
I think this is their take on Andor's success.
Yeah, I just think they saw the success of Andor and were like, oh, people like this kind of like, not people like gritty, whodunit things that you're kind of figuring out Cloak and Dagger. Yeah, we do. We don't need to watch a 45-minute episode of CGI explosions. Yeah.
You can have people actually acting and actually like doing movie things.
Yes, yeah, and another thing, it's Ben Mendelsohn has done a great job. I only knew him from like doing like art house movies with like Sam Rockwell and stuff. So it's kind of cool to see him do this after doing Star Wars and still bring, because you need people like that in the MCU who like do art house movies who can come in here and actually just act and not just read a role.
There is a lot, like kind of a surprising amount of high class, I guess you would say, British actors in this. You have Martin, what's his name, who's playing obviously an American, and then you have Ben Mendelsohn, the chick who is in the government, who looks exactly like the Prime Minister you would expect a Prime Minister to look like.
Amelia Clark,
yeah, you get a lot of really like high-end British actors in this. It's really interesting. That's definitely...
I think that was a choice. They wanted to like...
Where does this take place? It's Chernobyl, obviously, but like the main like Fury stopping the bomb. Where was that?
It seems like Fury has like Fury has a hideout in Russia, basically, like a little bunker thing.
I was thinking maybe this was like their first step into British MCU stuff, but no, if it's not really taking place in England, then
no, yeah, they are butting heads with the woman because she is head of MI6.
Oh, that's what she. Okay.
So they're. Oh man, I didn't even think we might see a reference to Captain.
Well, that's
Britain.
what I was getting at. Is that what if this ends up being our lead into Captain Britain and Shing
Psylocke? Well, Betsy.
The Excalibur is what I was going for. I was trying to remember the sword name. Excalibur, which is a primarily British team, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just even if it's something I know it's whatever. I still, in my head canon, that castle that you see in Moon Knight is definitely Doom's. Just a little fun thing. It could be even something little like that of we'll have to get our captain on this. You know. That's all you could say.
We have our own captain.
Exactly, yeah, and then just leave it to that. Leave it to us. You don't need to do the freaking James Gunn animal torture thing. You could just say it.
Reference that he's a mutant or something. Well, he's not a mutant, is he? It's just a sister.
Yeah.
And thus, all of Teenie Howard's Excalibur plot is birthed with just that concept. Not shade, just a little bit of shade. Okay, is that it then? I think that covers everything we wanted to cover in this episode. Thank you for tuning in to whatever portions you tuned into. Please join the Discord. It is linked in every episode's description, right at the top. And talk to us about, whatever you feel like talking about, because that's what Discord is for. In the meantime, I'll be back for the first episode of July, hopefully next week, but time will tell. Meanwhile, enjoy comics and your manga and anime products, and don't be an asshole. Stay sweaty.